Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain, answering questions that the fans have sent in. When not touring, how much time do you spend each day practicing? I can't think of a week when we don't tour.
No, that's true.
So it's an academic point.
Or a day when we practice.
Yeah. So practicing and touring are concepts that
they're kind of the
don't
same
fit,
thing.
really. Yeah.
Well, they're sort of, we're practicing when we're touring, aren't we?
When I'm not gigging and I'm at home, I play the bass for about 2 hours every day.
You're very good.
Ooh.
He's just a show off, John.
Number 2. How long does it take for you to learn a new song?
Minutes.
Depends what it is. We learned that song that we played in Cologne.
That's right.
In minutes.
Yeah.
And yet,
Dance Macabre took weeks.
Dance Macabre, yeah.
I'm still trying to learn Dance Macabre.
Well, yes, indeed, me too.
I think there's another answer that it doesn't take like long to get a song going, but often we leave it alone and then come back again to it a year later and change it a bit and spend another bit of time on it. So each little bit doesn't take long, but sometimes there's more than one period where we do a song and change it a bit. And then
But the nature of the song, though, sometimes it just falls into place very, very quickly.
Another time they just evolve, don't they?
Yeah.
How long does it take you to learn a new song?
It depends what the song is. Sometimes the tune just falls quickly into place. Other times it takes a while to evolve an arrangement that we all feel happy with. And that often happens through not just rehearsing but actually from playing it live at a gig.
Well, I was remembering that time when you used to hand out sheet music at the gigs on stage in front of the paying public. So often we had to play songs we'd never played before, and some of those were quite good actually, and they worked out quite well.
So if the song lasts 2.5 minutes, it takes 2.5 minutes
to rehearse it
and
learn
perform.
it, and perform it all in once. You cut out the rehearsal process entirely. No, but there've been some good ones. I thought in the early days we used to be able to rehearse more on stage, and now that the paying public are coming along more, it's become the pressure to perform and not take too many risks. It is greater these days, which is unfortunate, really. But we still make mistakes, which is good.
What are in your opinion, the best strings for which uke?
I suppose we'd have to do that individually, would we?
There are 7 of us, that means
Yeah.
14 opinions.
personally, I do use Aquila strings mostly.
Yeah, I use Aquila as well.
Tadarium for the baritone. So,
I'm afraid I use fishing line.
fishing.
It's true that.
It is true.
It sounds like a joke.
Oh no, it's.
I just take any strings I can get.
I take any old strings. Yeah,
Me too.
I'm not fussy about
Yeah.
strings.
Yeah.
There's not much science.
That washing line with
Any flat
wire
mounted
was
bass
quite
strings that are short scale, because they're very difficult to find. And if I find them, I buy them. It doesn't matter who they're by.
What's the best tuning?
My tuning's the best. Mine's the best.
Well,
You would say that.
I think there's lots of tunings and we'll talk about them, but Kitty and Will and I tune G, C, E, A.
But Kitty has the low G.
You have the low G.
And you've got the high G.
So Kitty's, mine goes,
That sounds
and
right.
Mine
Kitty's
goes.
goes with that low one.
And Peter's.
I'm A, D, F sharp, B, which is
Woo! A whole tone.
One tone up.
It's nice.
Suits the small ukulele though, doesn't
What
it?
about you,
It
Rich?
certainly does.
Oh, mine's like G, G, B, E. Top
And
4 strings of a guitar, really.
In Hester's absence, she tunes the same as Peter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I tune different ways on different ukes. This one is, but then I have some others that are tuned.
Ooh, that's interesting.
How does the bass go?
E, A, D, G.
So So, how do you go about arranging a song for a bunch of uke players, and how long does it take?
3 minutes. You say, who knows the words, who knows the chords, let's try it. And then add some twiddly bits.
How often do you add new songs, and does it ever become boring playing the same songs every evening?
The same songs every evening are always just a little tiny bit different, and so they're never exactly the same. There's always some little thing that is different, a tempo, or Richie or George might do another little musical quote, or I might do something funny on the bass, or Dave or anybody, and so that's a little difference, brings a little frisson to the thing every night.
We can play them in different orders, and that helps.
That helps
as well.
also.
Yeah.
And also when you've got a different audience,
A different reaction.
you get a different
Yeah.
reaction to the same song. Sometimes we are very aware that some of the people we've played to dozens of times, and then you actually think, oh, have they heard everything that we've done? But,
Yeah, but
usually people haven't.
But then we try and play something new for them, and then they say, "Why didn't you play Wuthering Heights?" So we're stuck with it. It does get a bit difficult, I find, you know, and it can get a bit when you're doing the same thing again and again, and it can get quite surreal when you're playing.
How are your preparations for a concert in a town or a country or a continent you don't know yet?
I think that's a bit like the last question, in that we say we've played a full house and a standing ovation in this country, or a town. If we go to a new place, we say, will it work? We don't know. You have to go through the encounter.
Well,
Usually it works. I mean, I can't think of an occasion when it's not.
But we might try and find a tune that is popular with the
Finlandia in Finland.
In
or-
Finland, we play a piece at the very end called Finlandia, which is a Sibelius piece, and they all cry and stand up and hug us at the end because it's so it's a beautiful piece for them to hear. And in New Zealand, we played what was that tune? Now is the hour, which again is a very beautiful New Zealand piece. So
And then in America, you do Hawaii 5-0.
Now, uke players
local
all
custom.
over want to know what ukes each of you play, the make, model, and anything else.
Dunno.
What we
Well, start with Dave then.
I used to play a Brian Stapleton, a Marshall Stapleton soprano, which I still do sometimes, but now I usually play this, which is a Gibson Mark II
From
soprano
when?
ukulele from about 1940 something.
I play Pete Howlett ukulele, UK ukes, yes, lovely ukuleles, and yeah, it's a soprano and it's got a lovely tone. So been playing that for a while now.
they sound best lightly crushed.
Yes, yes, it has been damaged recently.
And repaired.
And
repaired, yes.
And
So
worse.
it's-
After the repair, it's louder.
It's louder.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yes, so smash your ukuleles. That's my advice.
And I've got a melee Hawaiian thing at the moment. But I also use Bushman and Carla in the past.
I always used to use a Marshall
Sorry.
Stapleton until Dave dropped it on the floor, but unfortunately it was quieter afterwards. So then I got quite a few by Marshall Stapleton and quite a few by Pete Howlett. And this is an old Bushman which isn't made anymore. And I've got quite a few Carlas that I also use.
I've got a Pete Howlett, which I use as a concert one, and it's also got a very nice tone.
this is a Martin ukulele, which is quite old, and it's a nice old one. I'm trying to strum a hole in it soon. It's got getting a couple of cracks here. It's going to be like a Woody Guthrie thing. I mean, what's it called?
Is it as old?
Not as old as.
Oh, it's not as old as the one I left on the tube when I was 16, though.
And that was worth a lot of money.
That was worth quite a lot of money. That was Ian Whitcomb giving me a ukulele to get me started, a Martin, which had proper old pegs in it and everything. And I left it on the tube by mistake and felt I've never lived it down really since then. But I got this in replacement.
This is a Martin, isn't it?
It is a Martin, except I've changed the heads on it and I've done some various things which when you meet real ukulele enthusiasts, they don't approve of at all. And what have you got, John?
I've played various basses with my career with the ukes, and I've finally hit upon this one, which I'm very fond of, which is a Tanglewood baby bass at 3/4 scale, very light and a lovely neck to play. Very quiet acoustically, but amplified sounds very nice.
Now, if you were not musicians, what would you have been?
I was looking forward to a career in molluscs, and I thought that it would be really good to check on the heavy metals that were present in shellfish. Unfortunately, the career in ukuleles took over, and I wasn't able to continue with my what now looks like a childhood hobby.
I expect people might want to know a real answer, but I don't know.
What's a real answer?
Well, yes. I used to.
Molluscs?
It's
I
a
used
lot
to
of-
do
it's
a
a
lot
load
of
of molluscs.
arts workshops and drama and things for children and people with learning difficulties, and I've used to do a lot of gardening.
Well, what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this, I have done loads of other things. Like Dave, I was a gardener for a long time, worked in the travel business and publishing, and then finally ukulele playing. So, been around the block a bit.
I worked for a long time for an engineering practice, and I've only recently, really the last few years, stopped that, concentrate on the ukulele. Some may say I made a big mistake.
You have a Queen's Award for the industry, don't you?
Yes.
The Queen's Award.
So,
I would have been a librarian.
would you?
It's the only job I ever liked.
We've all done music in some form or other
Yeah.
for you know, all the time, as well as other
Yeah.
jobs. I did used to work in TV and stuff, but I mean, you can't. It's not just the ukulele that we play or are interested in,
No.
and there's lots of other bands and interesting creative endeavours which we have been involved in, and this is the one we're stuck with now.
I've wanted to be a musician since I was 11, and done various jobs along the way to pay the bills. Then for the last 15 years or so, been nothing but a musician, and I shan't ever be anything but a musician. I did once drive London buses for a couple of years.
Jonty drove me to school.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
Did you pick up the ukulele yourselves, or did you have formal tuition?
Picked it up myself, really.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I think we all did, but there was no formal tuition.
I'm not sure what formal tuition
Yeah.
ukulele is.
I don't know. You hold ukulele.
Conservatoire.
Well, I don't think there were any ukulele teachers when we actually started.
I bought a book when I was 6,
Yeah.
and it said, you have to hold it like this.
Yeah.
It said you have to do this, and on no account use a plectrum.
Yeah.
It only had one piece of information in it that I thought was really good, and it said, once you've learned to play 3 songs on ukulele, or you can sing them, if you then perform in public, leave the best one till the last, and you'll have to buy a diary to keep track of all the engagements which will come your way.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good advice, isn't it?
Not bad.
I like that.
What were your first musical experiences?
God.
Piano at 4, violin at 9, the electric bass at 11.
The recorder. I used to play the recorder in school.
I think mine was probably, forming music was probably being in the school choir.
Yeah,
Also, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of
yeah.
7 or 8 was probably when I started doing that sort of thing.
I sang long before I
Plucked.
plucked.
My
Some might say
my
I still
first-
do.
My first memory of a musical experience was jamming along to Popeye on the television when Olive Oil was singing I Like a Clean Shaven Man. Pretty good track, I thought. I still remember it.
Test card. Do you remember the test
No,
card?
yeah.
Used to put the telly on and practice along to the test card.
What would you all be playing if the ukulele had never been invented?
Quattro.
Exactly, yeah. Something like a ukulele. A tiny guitar.
Probably.
The Ngoni. Chitterino.
Yeah. Something like that.
I've played quite a lot of bass guitar when I was a teenager, which has got 4 strings.
Who thought of the band's name?
Me.
Not on your own.
Oh, yeah.
We could discuss it later.
You did the lady bit of ukulele.
There were no ukuleles. I mean, was there?
There were no ukulele
orchestras.
orchestras.
No, in 1985.
I think,
Yeah.
You couldn't buy ukes, which is why half the guys have got ones made by Stapleton or Howlett, because you had to have them made. They'd laugh if you walked into a ukulele shop, into a music shop and asked for a ukulele.
When I first got involved with the ukulele orchestra, I knew Kitty from before, I just thought it was a trendy art school name for an ordinary band until I turned up to the first rehearsal. And
You realised how serious it was.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did any of you play with George Harrison, and if so, tell us about it?
Well, yeah, in fact, I did. This follows on from the last question, because 20 years ago, not only were there not any ukulele orchestras, but also there weren't any ukulele clubs, ukulele meetings, ukulele groups that you see all the time now. People often ask, did you meet in one of those? When we were young in Britain, there was two groups. There was the George Formby Society that met in Blackpool in the north, and the Ukulele Society that met in Digswell, which I think is in Hertfordshire in the south. And they were the only two places that you could actually go and meet and play with other uke players. And I was there in about 90 or 91, and I think I played Cheating Heart. And what happens there is you tend to go up on stage, but because most people then played George Formby, the audience will sit and they'll play along with the songs that you're playing. And George Harrison was there, and he was one of the people playing along. And in fact, he brought a 5-string ukulele from Hawaii, which had a double course of top strings. And he was a very nice chap, and although they call him the quiet Beatle, he wasn't. He chatted away and was extremely pleasant.
and he gave you his telephone number.
He did.
And you said, George, you ought to talk to George Harrison. But he's not called George Harrison on the telephone because it's so famous, he has to have a different name. And his name was Jack Transport.
Just transport.
And we kept saying, must phone up Jack Transport. And eventually we couldn't, because he died.
Yeah.
Great shame.